country. We're like a third world country. Your elections are crooked, and you're crooked, and Meet the Press is crooked, and so is ABC and CBS and CNN. You're one-sided crooked networks. All right, let's call it quits because I've had enough. Thank you, darling. Have a good time.
Traveled all the way to Wisconsin for this interview.
Things recently boiled over on Abby Phillip's CNN show during an incredibly heated panel discussion. We saw Ana Navarro completely lose her patience with MAGA commentator Caroline Sunshine in an exchange that quickly went off the rails. The panel also featured Charles Blow and Hal Lambert, leading to a massive clash over political rhetoric and media accountability. I have some distinct thoughts on how this unfolded, but first, let's take a look at the footage together.
Trump's monumental meltdown. Tonight, the walls appear to be closing in on the president. His war in Iran is as unpopular as ever as it stretches into its 100th day. Americans are worried about their finances more than ever before, and he's suffered a series of legal losses that are throwing his priorities for a loop. And his own party is now fiercely pushing back on some of his agenda. It all comes to a head during this interview with NBC's Kristen Welker on Meet the Press this weekend. Welker pressed Trump on a number of conspiracy theories, first about January 6th rioters, then the lie that California's election is rigged. But instead of responding with evidence or proof of any kind, Trump resorted to insults and smears before he stormed off altogether.
You know that these elections are rigged. Your network knows that they're rigged. You know that I won an election in a landslide, and I got 94% bad press.
But, Mr. President,
you know why I got that? Because you have no credibility.
But you've never presented evidence that it was rigged. Let's keep talking about. I want to talk about Todd.
You have more evidence. There's more evidence than ever presented.
Let's talk
your
about
elections in this country. We're like a third world country. Your elections are crooked, and you're crooked, and Meet the Press is crooked, and so is ABC and CBS and CNN.
But, Mr. President,
you're one-sided crooked networks. All right, let's call it quits because I've had enough. Thank you, darling. Have a good time.
Traveled all the way to Wisconsin for this interview.
One of the most revealing things about that exchange is that she kept asking for proof. There was no proof being put on the table. And when the president attacks the media, calling them biased, it's usually because they're correcting him on some very obvious falsehoods, like the one that he tried to repeat in that interview, Charles.
Like, the president wants to say this. You have to let me lie without interrupting me. You have to let me lie and not push back on it. And if you don't give me that kind of coverage, then I do not like the media. And the other thing that the president does is that he substitutes himself for the country all the time. I think people have to really be careful when they listen to him, because as an authoritarian thing, when he says that they are the enemy of the country, he really means that they are the enemy of me because they won't let me lie. When he says that people are attacking the country, he really means that they are attacking him. The substitution is a very real thing that happens with Donald Trump in the way that he communicates. And I think everybody needs to pay attention to that.
Why can't Trump take corrections, tough questions? Why can't he put proof on the table of his assertions?
Well, I think you watch the president more than anybody, and I hope everybody at this table would be honest about the fact that the president of the United States takes more tough questions on a daily basis than just about any other president in the modern era. Certainly the last one that we had. Oh, no, I think he should do this two to three times a week. This was a great interview.
Storm out of interviews?
Oh, no, absolutely, because the president's base and most of the country still views the mainstream media as very biased against them. They feel very demonized by the media. They feel very misunderstood.
Most of the country does not. We've got 60+% of the country who can't stand Donald Trump. So they are not on the side. Most people are not on the side of Donald Trump.
By the media, they don't feel like the mainstream media. That wasn't the question I asked. Why won't he present
to try to actual proof of the thing that he's claiming?
Can I talk about that? Because that's always the comeback. Where's the evidence?
Yeah, because
the evidence is this.
If you're going to claim fraud, there should be some evidence.
Okay.
That's
the evidence is this. You have a California system that enables fraud to happen easily. You don't have voter ID. You have mass mail-out ballots. You have voter cards.
That's not evidence. That's
time out.
That's just a description of an electoral system.
It's an electoral system that's ripe for fraud.
Ripe for fraud is not fraud.
And then you
have
is
not fraud.
No, but then you have statistical anomalies where you have Rahman, who was third place, was getting 20% of the vote, and then the vote after the election day, she gets 40% of the vote.
So that's
a total
speculation is also not proof. It is so infuriating to watch people try to make speculation into proof.
It's not speculation, that's data.
That is not data.
We're going to spend a whole segment on the California race in just a moment. So we're going to talk through some of the stuff that you're talking about there. But I actually think that we can boil it down much more simply than this. Trump falsely believes that he won the 2020 election that he lost. When he is challenged on that, he gets upset and he storms out of an interview. Explain that one.
They were talking about the mayoral race in California, and he was talking about the fraud there, the rigged election there.
Okay.
That's what they were
It's rigged? You believe it's rigged?
I do believe it's rigged.
Oh, my God. We can wrap this show up there.
100% rigged.
We can wrap this show up there.
He turned that into talking about his favorite obsession, which is
2020.
What's that?
In that exchange, he also was talking about the election that he lost in 2020.
Well, he talked about the 95%. He also got mad because he has 90%.
What's the explanation for that?
95% negative press coverage. He's sitting there in a negative press interview.
What does press conference have to do with the fact that she asked for proof of fraud?
Here's the thing about the president. When he was candidate Trump and they had the primary and he lost to Ted Cruz, the first thing he said was it was rigged. And he insisted that the state officials change the actual results of that primary. You remember that. And Ted Cruz was very upset by that because he called Ted Cruz a liar. That was 10 years ago. So to characterize his conversation without an understanding of who he has been, I think is unfair to the conversation we're supposed to be having now. He's always done this.
Caroline also suggested that Trump loves taking tough questions, but here is his very real history of not taking tough questions that he doesn't like. Listen.
Your first statement was, are you ready for tough questions?
Are you?
That's no way to talk. It's no way to talk. I think we have enough of an interview here, Hope. Okay, that's enough. Let's go. Let's go.
The only way it's not going to happen again is you have to solve the problem of the presidential rigged election of 2020.
Mr. President, if I'm... Wait, one more question.
The woman that you said was a great doctor in that video that you retweeted last night said that masks don't work and there is a cure for COVID-19, both of which health experts say is not true. She's also made videos saying that doctors make medicine using DNA from aliens and that they're trying to create a vaccine to make you immune from becoming religious.
Well, maybe it's the same, maybe it's not.
Last week, well, real quick.
Okay, thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
Okay. Hold on, because I haven't.
Before we get into the really heated part with Ana Navarro and Caroline Sunshine, I just wanted to pause here for a minute and say the fact of the matter is, and everyone who isn't in the MAGA cult understands this, Donald Trump is a massive crybaby. His MAGA base, they're all massive crybabies. And whether Hal Lambert actually believes what he's saying or not, all of these MAGA pundits that go on Abby Phillip's show do nothing but create fantasy and try to muddy the waters to make sane, rational people question what's going on. You know, there are probably maybe people that watch Hal Lambert calmly saying these things and think, oh, maybe the election was rigged. Maybe there's something going on. And there's absolutely no evidence of that, as Charles Blow is saying here. There have been study after study after study of voter fraud. It doesn't exist. It's not a real thing. But Donald Trump, because he's a loser and a crybaby, is going to continue to present this myth. And then these MAGA goons like Caroline Sunshine and Hal Lambert and Scott Jennings and Ben Ferguson and all the rest that go on these CNN shows like Abby Phillip just perpetuate this myth to try to muddy the waters. That's it. Hal Lambert says 95% of press coverage is against Donald Trump. He's just making up a number. There was no study that showed that to be true. And I have long believed part of the problem and part of the reason that we're stuck with Donald Trump is the media trying to normalize him from day one. Like was said, you know, he's been doing this for 10 years. When he started this BS with the enemy of the people and all of that, the press should have just said, no, we're not covering you. The media conglomerate should have said, we're not going to send our people out to be berated and insulted by this scumbag. And Donald Trump would have curled up into the fetal position and cried like the baby that he is because he can't stand not to be the center of attention and talked about all of the time.
Things that I think need to be addressed in the clip that we saw from the Meet the Press interview. The first is him alleging that he didn't lose the 2020 election. Trump and his team filed over 60 challenges in court and lost every single one of them. So there is no evidence that held up in court. That's number one issue. The second issue, which to me is just as horrible and needs to be discussed, is his consistent berating and insulting and ad hominem attacks, particularly against women. whether it's
Give
Kristen.
me a break.
What do you mean give me a break? Kristen Walker this week.
It's Kristen.
Caitlin Walker,
I'm
Caitlin
sorry.
Collins last
I've
week.
worked with
The
Kristen
woman he
when I
called
worked at
Peggy.
the White
Will
House.
you give
For
me
you
a
to
break?
say
Have
that
you
you're
no
going up
shame
against
as a
those
woman
women? No.
that we hear
Kristen
him
was
call them
tougher
ugly
on-
and piggy and
Kristen
crooked
was
and
tougher
liars
on him
and
in
stupid
that interview
and bad journalists?
than I have
Have
seen
you
most.
absolutely
That's
no
probably the
solidarity with
toughest
women?
interview I've
Oh
seen
my
him
God, I
face
can't believe you sit
to date.
here and tell
He
me to give
pushed
you a
up
break.
against
When
her
in this
because she was a
network
tough
we hear
journalist.
him
Not because she
tell
was a
our
woman.
journalist that
Caroline,
she's
let her
not
finish.
fit to
She
be a
didn't finish her
journalist
thought.
because she doesn't smile. How dare you tell me to give you a break? Have
Caroline,
some shame.
Why would the
don't you?
president tell a woman that she doesn't smile enough when she's working, asking him a question?
Because he's an equal opportunity offender. And let's not pretend. Let me explain how the
Give me
game.
another example of
Let
him
me
telling
explain how the
a
game.
man-
Let me explain how the game works.
Give me an
Because
example of him being equal
Let me explain how the game
opportunity
works because
with that
Caitlin got something out of that
particular
exchange
insult,
too.
Caroline.
The president gets a lot out of having combative exchanges with journalists. His base loves it. His poll. That's why I said he should do 2 to 3 more of these a week. His poll numbers go up. But Caitlin's getting something out of it too. So many journalists have made their careers in this country off of being combative with President Trump. Caitlin Collins included, Jim Acosta, many former people. It is all part of the game. It is all part of the theater. She's tough.
Jim Acosta lost his job at CNN.
Why is it a game
But
to
the
you?
fact that you guys are going to call this a woman problem, Kristen did one of the toughest interviews I have seen someone do with the president up to
And he
date,
walked up
she
and
deserves
left
credit
because
for that.
he couldn't
But
take it.
He didn't push back.
She
she's
flew
a
all the
woman.
way to
He just pushed
Wisconsin,
back. It was
left
tough
her, and
questions. Grow up.
went to do her job. No, the guy needs to grow up. He's the president of the United States. He needs to grow up, and instead of walking out,
How
having
many
a
interviews did
tantrum
Biden
and
do?
taking
How many interviews did Biden
and
do
how much
like
you
that?
criticize
He never did an
him.
interview.
Okay, and Biden is back in the White House. We can discuss it.
The Biden is like a reflex.
Separate
Jesus.
conversation
It's the truth.
than just
So is the 2020 election.
What are you
Biden,
doing?
blah, 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 blah,
Guys,
Biden, blah, 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 blah,
one at
blah,
a time,
Biden.
please. Elsie, you were making a
Jesus.
point.
I get it. You want the president to look good.
I get it. You want to talk about 2020? I mean, I'm bringing up
he
Biden.
does.
I actually brought up 2015 when he started beginning the lies
You did that too.
about talking about how elections have been stolen. I was just letting you know there's a pattern here that's been 10 years long. That's why I brought that up. But to the point I'm trying to...
He's the guy that's in the White House. These douchebags like Hal Lambert are still going to be saying, what about Biden 20 years from now if they're still around on TV? Absolutely spot on from Ana Navarro to say blah, blah, blah Biden, because that's all they have. They cannot legitimately defend this clown that is the God King of their party. The guy has no substance. He is hated by the American people other than the MAGA cult. They can say all they want about how great he is and how loved he is and all of that. We all know that that is nonsense. They have nothing but what about Biden? I didn't think Biden was a good president either, but he was at least presidential. Donald Trump is a clown.
Say right now is that what do you want this nation to gravitate towards? The behavior that we've seen in which you berate women, or behavior in which you learn how to negotiate with someone that you don't agree with, but you don't need to yell or get up and leave out of an interview.
It's the one way that you will berate women because apparently
let me
it's
ask
good
you
for
this,
your
because
image.
I hear you pushing
That's
back
the thought,
on LZ and Anna and suggesting that maybe this is somehow about Joe Biden, which it's not. Are you comfortable with Trump being challenged on something and rather than defending his point, just simply storming off of an interview?
He did defend his point. She kept on and on with the same
How did
question.
he defend it? What did he defend?
He said that he thought the election was rigged. He answered the question.
And she asked for proof, and he provided
but
what?
it goes back. He talks about what I just said. If you look at the whole election system,
What you said didn't make any
California,
sense.
Of course it does.
No, it doesn't make any
listen,
sense.
and
it's not a fact.
I just want to be clear.
It is a fact.
I just want to be clear. We are going to tackle what you were saying about California because there is no proof of what you're saying about California. But in this particular segment, I want to deal with the long-running Trump obsession, which he also brought up in that interview, with his loss in 2020, which he has now tasked the government with trying to validate, even though there's no proof of it. Why is it that when he is challenged on that, he can't answer for it?
Look, we know there were, after the fact, we know there were problems in Arizona. We know there were problems in Georgia. We know after investigation.
What were they?
You can't prove that in 45 days.
What were they,
okay?
Hal? It's been 6 years.
What were they?
What were the problems?
There were problems with the voters in Georgia. They found there were voters that were
There was no problem
How
in
many
Arizona.
fraudulent votes were cast in Georgia? Because I live in Georgia. I want to hear you lie about
And I
it.
lived in Arizona.
That's a lot. Okay, first of all,
I lived in
we can't have this
Arizona. There was
conversation.
nothing
We can't have this
wrong with
conversation.
Arizona.
This man just said that there were thousands of
The more you guys yell there's no fraud, the more likely there was fraud.
No, the more that you lie, the more we're going to push back on the fact that you are
81
lying.
million votes.
The Heritage Foundation keeps the largest database of voter fraud.
This is so
of
ridiculous.
anybody.
I want to walk off
They keep
this
30.
thing.
They keep. I'm sorry. I'm going to finish this point. I'm going to finish this point. They keep 30 years. They've tracked 32 elections, 100 million votes. They have found 39 total cases
That's so absurd.
of voter
It's so
fraud.
absurd.
The Heritage Foundation is absurd.
Where's your proof? Where's your proof?
I just cited my source. What is your source?
I got a question for you.
I just cited, no, because I don't want
Hold on,
I want to know what your source is.
You said
What
it's
is your
absurd. Why
source?
is it
Mine is the
absurd?
Heritage Foundation.
Do you think there's no H-1B visa
Where
fraud?
is your source?
Do you think there's no Medicare fraud?
You don't have
Do you think there's no home health care fraud? Can you let me finish?
So Hal Lambert just throws out these random things that have absolutely nothing to do with elections. And again, this is part of the problem here is CNN. They should not continue to have these people on. I don't know who they would find, but all of the MAGA people, Donald Trump doesn't understand the difference between fact and opinion and fiction because he's living in his own fantasy world. These pundits like Hal Lambert, I don't know if they know or not, if they're just lying. But we have Charles Blow here presenting facts, and the people on the left or the Democrats or the progressives or whatever term that you want to use who go on Abby Phillip's show, they have evidence. They have facts behind them, and the MAGA people are always just like, I disagree. That's just, you're wrong. That's not true. And how do you reckon with that? How do you debate with someone who does not exist in a fact-based world?
You're not saying a source.
Guys.
You're not saying a source.
There's fraud all over the federal government. There's fraud all over the states.
Where is your source?
And yet there's no voter fraud?
Are you kidding? The idea that you're sitting here trying to convince us based on no source whatsoever to trust your word and trust the president's word when we know he is lying. And I want to know if you think that was rigged. I want to know if we're sitting here with two election deniers.
Just a second.
Do you think it's rigged as well?
Tell me there's no fraud in anything. Medicare, Medicaid, H-1B visas, nothing.
You have no source, and you're going to get louder and louder, and it's still not going to work.
California won't allow the federal government to
louder and louder, and it's still not going to work because you don't have a single source in your whole body.
Stop talking. Guys, stop talking. Because y'all are talking so loud. But to be honest, Hal, you're not saying anything.
Okay, I think I am. Let's see what the viewers think.
Caroline,
they won't let the federal government even audit the
Hold on a second. Caroline wants to have a quick word, and then we're going to go to
By the way, I would just add, the president has agreed to do a second interview with Kristen Welker, which doesn't surprise me at all. So Kristen will have her own time to, I'm sure, ask him for further evidence. Sounds like you've been upset about it. Way more than Biden ever did.
We're going to leave that right there. Next for us, the president and MAGA are pushing false
Ana Navarro's blah 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 Biden response at the end perfectly captures the sheer exhausting nature of these debates. It truly feels like a parallel reality where established facts are entirely discarded in favor of unverified opinions. When pushed for hard evidence, the strategy quickly shifts from offering proof to deflecting toward the audience, essentially saying, let's see what the viewers think. This reveals the actual game plan. It isn't about winning a legal or factual argument on television. It is about intentionally muddying the waters and manufacturing doubt. By drawing loose false equivalences between separate issues like healthcare fraud and election integrity, the goal is to make everyday citizens question the entire system. The real danger of this strategy is voter apathy. When pundits project absolute confidence while claiming a system is fundamentally rigged, it leaves some viewers wondering what the point of participating even is. It creates a space where reasoning with facts becomes nearly impossible because an algorithmic echo chamber or a random online video is treated with the same authority as data and evidence. Faced with that kind of defensive stonewalling, the dismissal of how damaging personal attacks can beat is completely understandable why tempers flare on these panels. Trying to anchor a primetime debate in reality when the other side refuses to play by the same rules is an uphill battle. But I want to hear from you. Where do you stand on how this panel handled the breakdown? If you were sitting at that desk, would you be able to keep your composure, or would you have lost your patience too? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you all in the next video.